Good evening and welcome to Midnight Movie Club and my review of Dead Space Downfall. Dead Space Downfall is the animated horror prequel to the third-person horror game Dead Space. It was developed by Film Roman, directed by Chuck Patton and written by Justin Gray and Jimmy Palmiotti. The film stars Nika Futterman, Jim Cummings, Kevin Richardson and Keith Sarabaka, who reprises his role as Dr. Kyne from the game. The film shows us what happens leading up to the events of Dead Space, with the USG Ishimura arriving at Aegis 7 to pick up the marker and bring it back to Earth, which then leads to the subsequent necromorph infestation on board the Ishimura, setting the stage for Isaac Clarke's horrifyingly epic journey. First off, let's talk about the animation. I really liked it. It sort of reminded me of the badass anime of the 90s that I grew up watching. It released back in 2008, so it's not the most up-to-date animation, but I felt that kind of fit the Dead Space story and the rusty setting of the Ishimura. It adds to the overall atmosphere and tone of the film, giving it a nice gritty feel, along with giving me some nostalgia of anime I grew up with. I do have to mention though, in certain places some of the animation does look pretty damn rough. This seems to be in areas where they tried to meld 2D and 3D animation, and the 3D parts are super noticeable and stick out like a sore thumb. Next up, I want to talk about voice acting, and overall for the most part it is pretty strong. Nika Futterman, that plays the lead Alyssa, kills it as a badass head of security. Jim Cummings is also great as Captain Matthias. His character featured in the original Dead Space game, and he really sounds similar to his video game counterpart, which I appreciated. Then there is Keith Sarabaka, who reprises his role as Dr. Kyne from the game, and once again his performance here is solid, just as well as he was in the game, and it was nice to have him in there to tie it all together. I actually really do like his character. He was more of the one three-dimensional characters. A lot of the characters in this are quite one-dimensional, but Dr. Kyne is definitely an interesting one. So overall, the voice acting, it's pretty good. Sadly though, narratively the story is a bit bland. It is the setup to one of the best horror games ever, in my opinion, and it does little to expand the lore or explore other possibilities within the universe. It is basically just a clusterfuck of what happened before Dead Space and why the Ishimura is in the state that it is. It makes no attempts at doing anything for itself or being its own story. It only serves to add a little seasoning onto the story that comes after it. And yes, that is an important part of a prequel, setting up what comes afterwards. But it still has to work as its own thing. And sadly, it doesn't really. It's okay, but if you're looking at just of it on its own, it's a bit meh. I feel like a lot of the enjoyment that I got out of this was because I am a fan of Dead Space. I think for anyone who hasn't played the games or isn't familiar at all with the source material and are just looking for a good anime, this will probably disappoint you. In saying this though, once the movie makes its way past a slow and weirdly cut first act, it moves at a breakneck pace with some badass ultra-violent action and some awesome gore. This was by far the most enjoyable part of the film for me, and it made it worth its runtime. Just seeing characters being brutally murdered by necromorphs and witnessing the spread of the necromorph infestation, I found that really fun. Unfortunately, the movie has to take some liberties. Some things from the game don't line up with the film, like the rate of how fast the necromorph infection spreads, but this would have no doubt been to keep the pace of the runtime moving forward. If it was taking days for the infection to spread in the film, it could have bogged it down and took away from the non-stop chaos. Now, Downfall is full of heaps of sci-fi and horror cliches, but for me they do work in the context of the situation, so I didn't mind them too much. You'll find yourself going, this is just like Alien, or this is super similar to Resident Evil, but those were influences on this whole franchise, so it makes sense to see them here, so I can give that a pass. And I actually really liked the internal conflict between the human characters and the politics of the Ishimura and who sent it for the marker and why, the mystery around that. I actually wish they explored that more within the narrative, but it was only really teased in little spades. One thing I thought was absolutely brilliant about Downfall was the score. It was composed by Seth Podowitz, apologies if I butchered that name, and it was full of long woodwind drones with the odd crashing percussion, and it was just all round a great horror score. It was deeply unsettling, and I think the score of Downfall deserves a lot more attention, to be honest. It contributed so much to the overall atmosphere and tone of the film. Atmosphere and tone is one thing I enjoyed throughout with Downfall. I find a lot of the time with anime, the tone can be lost and it just goes full anime, if you know what I mean, and it just loses what it's really trying to be. But with Downfall, it felt like Dead Space from start to finish. It really felt like there was little to no hope for everyone involved, and that is the Dead Space way. Deep dark space with only death and despair. It was really nice to see a few different types of necromorphs show up in the film as well. I was hoping more might, but with this being a prequel in an earlier stage of the infection, I didn't mind. Overall, if you're a Dead Space fan, I think you'll enjoy this one if you can look past those liberties I was saying that the film takes. They didn't bother me too much, so I'm sure they wouldn't bother you. Even if you are not and you just want an anime with some badass gory fight scenes, then this is the one. Just don't expect it to explore any deep meaningful themes or anything like that. Even with its downfalls, no pun intended, I swear, Dead Space Downfall is still a fun time. Setting up the gory stage for Dead Space, I'm super tempted to go replay the first game now. Maybe take my score with a little grain of salt on this one, as I am a fan of the franchise, but I'm going to give Dead Space Downfall a 3 out of 5 rating. It's not the best horror anime out there, but within the context of the games and my thirst for gory alien necromorph violence, I still enjoyed this one more than what I disliked about it. Anyway, if you have seen Downfall, let me know what you made of it in the comments section down below. And if you enjoyed this video, then please do give it a like. If you haven't already, then subscribe to join the club. As always, thank you very much for watching, and good night.